CBS Sports HQ presented by Bonobos. Look good, play good, repeat. And that is what Cameron Young is going to try to do on Friday. Boy, if he can put together another round like he had in round one, he might put this thing out of reach come the weekend. But that's a lot to ask. He was 8 under par. He shot a 64, didn't have a single bogey. Young, who still has not won a PGA Tour event, does have a top 3 finish at the PGA Championship earlier on this season and has a 2-stroke lead over a couple of big names. Rory McIlroy looking for his first major since 2014, and the other Cameron Smith, who shot a 5 under par 67 to start this thing. Tiger Woods, by the way, probably not going to make the weekend. 6 over par, and the cut is probably going to be somewhere around even par. So Tiger would have to go really, really low on Friday to make it. Let's go out to St. Andrews now. Kyle Porter has been watching all the action all week. Today, we finally get out there on the course. We see that players, especially in that morning wave, could go really, really low. What were your takeaways from day one before we get into the individual players?
Yeah, I think the course played about how I thought it would. It was really fast and firm, and there was a lot of talk, Chris, coming in. Oh, somebody's going to shoot 59 or somebody's going to shoot 60. This course is really tricky, and there's nobody that's going to shoot 59 with how fast and firm it's playing right now. So I thought that was interesting. The splits, it got progressively harder as the day went on. If you look at the final splits, the first 13 or so, threesomes that went out, it was the easiest wave. And then the next 13, it was a little bit harder. And then the final 13 was a little bit harder. It got cold and windy at the end. I just came in from the course from following Tiger's group around, and it was really chilly when it ended. And then I think the last thing, I know we'll talk about it in a second, but Rory shooting 66, I thought was a big deal. He's been waiting 12 years. I wrote about this for CBSSports.com. He's been waiting 12 years to play another Open Championship at St. Andrews. Missed in 2015 because of an injury, and he went out and did it and put himself in position for the 3rd straight major after round one to win a major championship. Didn't close the deal in the last 2, but he's given himself a great opportunity at a course that he has kind of decimated over the course of his career. So those for me were kind of the big storylines from the first day.
And of course, Tiger Woods with just a really unlucky start. Started with that double bogey. His first tee shot was good, but it ended up in a divot, and then it went haywire from there. A couple more bogeys and then a double, and he found himself 6 over par through his first 7 holes. Finishes 6 over on the day. What went so wrong for Tiger today?
Well, he got a couple of bad breaks. Obviously, he's in a divot on one, hits it in the burn. That is just not the way you want to start the Open Championship, right? But the other things where he was not helped by the fact that his round took over 6 hours to play. Matt Fitzpatrick said that should never happen in golf and called it sad that it happened, and sort of agree that does not benefit Tiger. That's not why he shot 78, but it also is just, it's not helpful to him. And then obviously the weather picking up, getting kind of the bad side of the draw, I guess, in day one, if you want to call it that. We'll see how it shakes out in day 2, but again, that cold weather, I was walking with him on, I guess, 16, 17, 18, and he was limping. I was actually right next to his ball on 16. He hit it way out to the left, kind of pull hooked a shot off the tee there. I couldn't see what he hit, but he was just really limping to his ball. So I think it's, it's kind of the same story that we've seen all year, where the game is okay, but just physically he's just battling himself, and we saw that definitely in a big way on Thursday.
And probably have to go 5, 6, maybe even 7 under to make the cut tomorrow for the weekend. Tiger Woods likely not going to be playing on Saturday and Sunday. Let's go to Rory McIlroy, who you mentioned. I mean, this was a guy that hasn't won since 2014, but he's the favorite for a reason, because he's been totally different this year. No, he hasn't won a major, but he's won a bunch of big tournaments, and he's put himself in position to win major championships because, Kyle, as you pointed out on your Twitter feed, he is starting fast, which is what he just had not done the last better part of the decade or so.
Yeah, he is. If you look at his last really 6 years of major championships from 2015 to 2021, I think he was want to say 34, 35 over in round ones of those majors. And this year, he has been, I think now, I guess, double digits under par, or close to double digits under par. So he's just really flipped the script on those first rounds. And, he talked in his post round presser about how I think he just has so much confidence in his swing and his game right now that he feels so freed up to kind of go after it. He doesn't feel like he's playing defensively and tentatively from the start. And that's what we saw. He makes a 50-footer on one, birdies 5, 6, 7, and it's kind of off to the races from there. So I thought it was and I asked him this after. I said, did you learn anything from kind of, stalling out a little bit in the PGA Championship and U.S. Open after those hot starts? He led outright after round one of the PGA, and he was T2 after round one of the U.S. Open. And he just said, the thing that I learned is I got to go back it up on Friday. He hasn't had it's on Friday of the PGA, he was 6 shots worse. On Friday of the U.S. Open, he was 2 shots worse than he was in round one. So he needs to back up that 66 with something in the same ballpark to give himself like a real chance at winning what would be his 5th major championship.
The only player that went lower was Cameron Young, who went out early and posted that score, and nobody caught him. 8 under par 64, didn't have a single bogey. Finished T3 at the PGA Championship earlier on this season, so he has placed well in a major, even though that's the only time he's ever done it. What kind of staying power might he have this weekend?
Yeah, I think his staying power is pretty high. If you look at his numbers in round one, he led the field from tee to green. He was just struck the ball tremendously. I followed his practice round actually on, I guess it was Tuesday for a little bit, and he just bludgeons the ball. I mean, it's super impressive to watch. He's got a really unique swing, and he hits the ball great. He's had a great year. Hasn't won a golf tournament yet on the PGA Tour, but as you said, he contended at the PGA Championship. He's popped up a couple other places, and so this is not a situation that it's not an amateur leading. It's not somebody who is maybe a veteran who got hot for a round, caught a hot putter, like we've seen in the past. This is somebody who, is he going to win the Open Championship at St. Andrews? I don't know about that, but I would be surprised if he wasn't at least kind of in that top 5, top 10 range come Sunday afternoon. And
a bunch of other big names off to good starts. You mentioned the other Cameron, who's 5 under par. You have you go to the second page of the leaderboard, and you have a couple of guys at 3 under. Bryson DeChambeau is 3 under. Xander Schauffele, 3 under par. There's a group at 4, though. Dustin Johnson, who we'll talk about in just a second, and Scottie Scheffler, who was one of the few guys who had a later tee time and was able to make hay.
Yeah, I thought what Scheffler did in the afternoon, shooting 68 when he teed off, was super impressive. And I think that, it's been interesting, Chris. He's talked a lot this week about this sort of perception that he's maybe not perceived as a typical world number one, as the kind of dominant world number one that we've seen in the past. And I think that's fair. I think, some of that is because of how quickly it's all happened. It just feels like we haven't been able to sort of contextualize what he's done in like a long-term way. It's like, oh my gosh, Scottie Scheffler can't stop winning golf tournaments. Is that a heater? Is this who he is? I think some of it is that, but listen, I tell you what, nobody would have a problem contextualizing him or with any kind of perception if he goes Masters and Open Championship in the same year. That's a very rare thing to do, to win the Masters, and even rarer to do it at Augusta and St. Andrews. I want to say, just off the top of my head, I think Tiger might be the only player to ever do that, to win a major at Augusta and win a major at St. Andrews in the same year. So he's got a lot at stake here. It'd be his 5th win, his 2nd major. He can kind of take this from being a really good year, a really solid year, to being one of the all-time great years in golf history. So I'm excited to see what he's got in store for the next couple of days. He drove the ball really well on Thursday, which I thought was encouraging for him. And if his putter stays hot, he's going to be in it until the end as well.
Scheffler on the way up, that rapid ascension to number 1 in the world. How about a guy who used to be number 1 in the world, Dustin Johnson, who appeared to be on the way down? He's gone to the LIV Tour. He hasn't placed in the top 10 in any major so far this season, but I don't know what you expected from him this week, but Mike McClure was on with us yesterday, and he loved Dustin Johnson this week, and he is off to a great start at 4 under with a 68.
Yeah, I don't know if I loved DJ this week. I liked him. He was my one and done pick on the First Cut podcast. He's somebody that, you know, if you look at his history at the old course at St. Andrews, Chris, it's a really he at times has just dominated this golf course, and it's easy to see why. He drives the ball just extraordinarily well, and if you drive the ball well on this golf course, you just put yourself in some really scoreable positions. This is what we've seen Rory do in the past. He's shooting 63 back in 2010. This is what we saw Rory do on Thursday here and shooting 66. And so for somebody like DJ, not for somebody like DJ, specifically for DJ, who's one of the best drivers of the golf ball ever, he's able to put himself in those positions. Now, I think what's interesting about his round, Chris, and this is something to keep an eye on going into round two, is his numbers, at least driving-wise, were not that good. He actually kind of carried himself with his putter. So he's somebody that it's a little bit like, well, he could flip the switch with the driver at any minute and go shoot a 65 if he's kind of feeling it off the tee. But I'm a little hesitant to say that he's going to – I would actually say that Cameron Young has more staying power at the top of this board than DJ, just because of the way he put his round together and because of how well – Cam Young's been playing compared to how DJ's been playing over the last few months.
All right, that's Kyle Porter on the grounds there at St. Andrews. The first round is complete. We'll have round two beginning very, very early in the morning. The first tee time's a little after 1 a.m. Eastern time. Before that, you'll get a brand new First Cut podcast, round-by-round recaps, DFS, and betting advice.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.